Hey there, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for our 10 Capital Quick Pitch. We have some amazing companies today and some great panelists on here as well. So with that, I'm going to bring them up. And while I'm doing that, I want to remind everybody in the audience, if you do have any questions, you can go ahead and put those in our chat box. And please don't forget to answer the poll at the end of each pitch, just so we can gather your interest on each company. I'm going to hand it off to Hall to get things started. Hall, go ahead.
Thanks, Shane. Thank you guys for joining us today. We have another great lineup of presenters as well as companies, and want to thank you guys for joining us in this session for the 10 Quick Pitch. We will have 4 pitches today, and then we'll move to breakout rooms afterwards. In the breakout rooms, we'll also have each company that you can meet and talk with, and then we'll do a 5th room that will talk about how 10 Capital works for those who are interested in learning more about the program that we offer here. Before we kick off, let's go ahead and meet our investor panelists. First up is Kirk Otis. He's the chapter president of the Keiretsu North Texas. Kirk, can you tell us more about yourself and your group?
Absolutely. So Keiretsu Forum actually is the most active angel networking group globally. There's 35 chapters in the United States, and we're just starting one here in Texas, starting with North Texas first. And we're just now getting off the ground. So what's really unique about Keiretsu is it's focused on raises of $1 to $3 million. So we represent a follow-on investment to the initial seed capital funders and the original angel groups quite often. And 60% of the transactions done last year were in the life science space. So if there is a specialty, we claim we're agnostic, but there obviously is a heavy weight for life sciences. And the thing that most people note about Keiretsu is its diligence process. Very robust, and is really what probably differentiates Keiretsu from other angel networks.
Great.
Thanks, Paul. Hall.
Thanks, Kurt. And we also have with us Juan Arango, the executive director of Keiretsu Forum Northwest. Juan, can you tell us more about yourself and your work there?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Hall, and thank you for inviting me to your show today. So I'm Juan Arango. I'm executive director for Keiretsu Forum Northwest region, a colleague of Kirk's. We have been around for the past since 2007. So we've been around for a while. We've had a chance to put money into over 900 deals. Last year, we invested in 106 deals, put $73.8 million into them. Our regional portfolio is very similar to Kirk's. About 40% of ours is life science. We have a very strong life science committee, very strong clean tech committee, very strong tech committee. And what we do all day is look for phenomenal startups to actually engage with and invest in. So that's what we do.
Great. Thanks, Juan. With that, let's have our first presenter come up. We have with us today Entac Medical. Buddy Lyons is the CEO that will come and kick off his presentation and take us through the first pitch. Thanks for joining us, Buddy.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we're a commercial digital health company developing acoustic analytics and AI devices to predict serious adverse events. We've got our first product cleared at PREVA-CA. We were talking about that product itself. It addresses postoperative ileus, which is the most common complication in major abdominal surgery. It's acute paralysis of the GI tract that begins 2 to 10 days after surgery that can lead to other adverse events. It is the leading cause of readmission and the leading cause of prolonged unnecessary length of stay. The problem is we can't identify patients that are at risk. And so the current protocols that we use are very reactive. One is delayed oral refeeding, delayed discharge, where you get 0 readmissions. However, you've got a very long length of stay and you're losing $11,000 per case in a fixed reimbursement system and increasing patient risk for hospital-acquired infections. Then you have early oral refeeding and early discharge. You have lower length of stay there, but you've got a readmission rate of over 20%. You're still losing money, about $4,000 a case. and you're increasing risk for adverse events after discharge. What PrevaCA does is it's precision medicine. It proactively identifies at-risk patients for postoperative ileus and enables personalized post-op refeeding and discharge strategies instead of just running patients through a blind protocol. It's very easy to use. You place it on the patient's abdomen within an hour. It quantifies MH4 detections, which is an acoustic biomarker that's sort of the invention in the thing that is highly correlated with the development of postoperative ileus. It predicts postoperative ileus at post-op hour 12, and that's really important because that tells you whether or not you can a surgeon can feed the patient on the day of surgery and when they can discharge. So the benefits of this are personalizing post-op care. Low-risk patients can receive early oral refeeding and early discharge, reduce length of stay by 3 to 5 days. High-risk patients, delay refeeding, delay discharge, reducing readmissions from the current 20% down to about 5%. You increase patient safety, and all those losses that you're getting in all those surgeries in a fixed payment system, you can turn into profits. The way we demonstrate this to hospitals is we put them in peer groups based on a case mix index, which is just a measure of how difficult the cases, the major abdominal cases they do are. In this particular hospital, you can see that they're a 4th quartile hospital based on average length of stay. They've got an average length of stay of over 10 days, whereas the other hospitals that are in the 1st quartile have about a 6-day stay. So we can lower their average length of stay dramatically. We can lower their readmissions by about 43%. It's got almost a $10 million budget impact just in intestinal surgery. When you expand that out to major abdominal surgery, it could be as high as $50 million. Now, just because there's a 1st quartile hospital up there, we can also help those hospitals. The ROI is not quite as high. It's about a 4 times ROI versus an ROI of a 4th quartile hospital of about 8 or 10 times. But we can help everybody do that. What we really think is going to drive this product is this resurgence that we've had in interest in ambulatory surgery with 1-day length of stay. The problem this limited the adoption of this is the ability to predict postoperative ileus. PrevaCA has a 95% negative predictive value, which says that the device that says the patient is not at risk for an ileus, it's correct 95% of the time. It becomes indispensable. And in doing this, this can be done in up to 30% of cases, reducing the length of stay by several days with cost savings greater than $10,000. We're actually doing an ambulatory colectomy collaborative throughout the country. We've not even launched yet. We've got several centers who are jumping all over this, and we believe this is going to drive it toward the standard of care. Postoperative ileus market in the world is about $6.5 billion. In the US and EU, it's about $1.5 billion each. Those are markets that we're interested in. It is a single-use device. We currently have 20 contract sales organizations and 1099 reps in the field who directly engage surgeons, identify surgeon champions to go through value analysis committee. Device costs about $600. It provides somewhere between an 8 and 10 times ROI for the hospital with an 80% gross margin at scale. We're expanding our rep base by from 20 to 32 by the end of next year. We've already got the expanded label, which gets us into major abdominal surgery. I mentioned that we're doing this quality improvement collaborative and ambulatory colectomy, which we really believe is going to drive this. We've got huge interest in this. Traction so far, we've got 6 hospitals moving through value analysis committees with 6 systems, which represents 48 hospitals. In total, that's about a $30 million revenue opportunity. All of our 8 clinical sites that you see on the screen are interested. That's about a $40 million revenue opportunity. And so far, 6 sites have requested to be in the Quality Improvement Collaborative. We've not even announced it yet. This led to a rapid development acoustic IoT program that we call PrevaCA, and we've already have the 2nd generation device to predict gastro impairment on ready. We've gotten prototypes for this. The reason we've done this is it's more accurate. It's in the cloud versus being self-contained on the device with continuously improved performance, and it's half the cost of PrevaCA. It also leads us into what we believe is the future of the company, outpatient wearable predictives in heart and lung. Imagine predicting a bronchospasm in an asthma patient before the bronchospasm even happens and what you could do with that, or decompensation in CHF. We'll have some data on this toward the end of this year, which is one of the milestones we want to achieve. We've got a very well-rounded management team with lots of experience. I've been doing this 25 years and have been CEO of 3 predictive analytics companies. John Cromwell is colorectal surgeon and AI expert. We have a very active board who have several exits under their belt, as well as a CTI, the company, the sales firm that just made their second investment in there, has 40 years experience of launching products for early stage companies. And Scott Nelson is handling our 1099 sales force and has 20 years experience doing that. We're very capital efficient. We got PreviCA developed the whole thing with total corporate expenses of about $3.75 million. The current note captures some rapidly developing milestones, including PreviCA revenue. Other things coming up will be hospital contracts toward the end of the year, proof of concept in heart and lung, and the rollout of the ambulatory colectomy that we believe is going to be the near-term driver of this. And then we'll do a price round next year, which will lead us into PreviCA gut submission for that will replace PreviCA in the marketplace, a CE mark in Europe for that device, partnerships in Europe and Asia, and potential discussions with strategics who we know are interested in the product. So that is our story, despite the screw up. What questions do you have? What can I answer for you?
Juan, what's your first question?
Yeah. So, buddy, thank you so much. You keep getting better and better every time I see you.
Thank you, Juan.
You and the deal and the whole thing.
Thank you.
Question for you. So you guys are already live in sales, or is this pipeline?
No, it's cleared. We launched the product in the first quarter. You know, as you know, Juan, sales cycles in hospitals are fairly long, and this is a brand new novel technology. But we do have 6 hospitals moving it through their VAC process. I mean, 6 hospital systems, which represents about 48 hospitals. And we have all of our clinical sites are interested in using it too. But Juan, I really think that ambulatory major abdominal surgery with 1-day stay is going to drive it home, because everybody's interested in this because there's so much cost pressure right now. Administrators are begging for things that can lower the length of stay. And imagine lowering a length of stay by 3 to 7 days at, $3,000 a day. So it's a tremendous opportunity.
Yeah. So what is, for example, PO for a hospital? This is single use, right?
It is single use. It costs $600 per device per unit for that. That gives them an 8 to 10 times ROI on that particular device if they're a 4th quartile hospital or a 4 times ROI. If you save them 1 day, Juan, you're saving them. It's a 5 times ROI at about $3,000 per day in the hospital. So
okay, but what's the typical order size, or what are you guys expecting?
Well, let's just take a typical large hospital like Mayo Clinic. Okay, for intestinal surgery, Mayo might do say 1,500 procedures a year times $600. Now, in major abdominal surgery, they would do more like 7,500 procedures a year times $600. So those are the unit sizes and the costs, and you can sort of figure out that it's millions of dollars for one particular hospital the size of Mayo, which is a typical hospital for us.
Okay.
Great. Kirk, what's your question?
How long is this funding going to carry you?
Yeah, it'll carry us into the first quarter of next year. We'll open up a price round toward the end of the year because we believe that we'll have hospital contracts and be getting orders and be getting into revenue. So it'll take us through the first quarter of next year.
Okay. Buddy, how about COGS?
Cost of the device?
Cost of goods, yeah.
Yeah.
What's your margin on that?
Yeah. Margin on this right now at the outset is about a 65% margin. As we ramp that up, that will go to about an 82% margin based on this product. PreviCA gut, the one that's coming behind it, cost about half the cost of what this does to cost it. So in 2025, when that product is introduced in the second half of 2025, those margins will go up from 82% to well over 90% as a cost of goods sold. Those devices don't have all the computation within the device because everything is in the cloud. PreviCA has everything, the board and everything you take to do the computation there. So we expect in 2025, the margins are going to jump appreciably when PreviCA gut's released.
Buddy, what's the impact on the physician with this new system that you have here? What change do they have to go through, if any?
Virtually none. They're already doing what they need to do. All they're doing is writing, post-op orders, just like they write them for medications to say, this patient needs to take this medication this many times a day or at this time of day. So they would just have an order in the EHR that tells nurses on the floor to At post-op hour 12, which is when the prediction is made, if the device says that the patient is low risk, they will have a set of feeding orders for them. If the device says that it's high risk, they will not feed them. They will wait until the physician rounds the next round, and the physician will do whatever the physician wants to do. So there's nothing new here for the physician to do. It'd just be handled very much like a post-op medication order.
Great. Can you tell us more about the exit strategy?
Yeah, we have talked to, if you think in your head, who are all the companies out there who have surgical divisions or diagnostic or patient monitoring divisions. There are several of them who are very interested in this technology, and they're interested in it because of the GI market. The GI market in the US and around the world is considerable. Just the US and the EU is about a $3 billion market, and you add Asia on that, and it goes up appreciably. But it's also the technology itself, because heart and lung, although those are much more nascent programs than where we are in GI, those are enormous markets with 25 million asthma patients. The proof of concept of this technology to be able to predict an adverse event has already been done in GI. So the hard work has already been done. And quite frankly, heart and lung are a whole lot easier to work in than the GI tract is. So they see that, they see a company that already is developing has a considerable level of revenue potential to move the needle for any large, medical device company or diagnostic company. Plus you have this technology that can rapidly produce additional product opportunities in very, very large markets. And I suspect, not promising anybody, that those discussions will begin probably something in the 2025 time period. We should be at a sales level then and have the entire sales program and driving a trajectory where they become very, very interested in talking about exits.
Great. Thank you, buddy, for that. We're out of time. With that, we'll go ahead and wrap this up, and let's move to our next presenter. We'll have coming up next, Nicholas Kuhn of Setex Technologies.
Okay, I'm Nick Kuhn, CEO of Setex Technologies. We're a consumer products company running about 5 million revenue right now. So a little bit different animal from what you see often here. And speaking of animals, what we do is we make a very unique advanced material that has this unusual ability to grip to skin in wet and oily conditions. You can see here a gecko that is hanging by its toe, and the fibers that are on the end of the gecko's toe are essentially what we've mimicked in our gripping material. So this is the culmination of about 15 years of research at Carnegie Mellon University. So as I said, we're a CMU spin out. We're based in Pittsburgh. We do our own manufacturing, and we're currently in the middle of raising $1 million equity round. So just talk about a little bit about our products. So what we do is we essentially have this unique technology to make these microstructures. They're about 100 microns in size in our material that have this super unique ability to grip to skin. And what you can see here is just our manufacturing process, but we essentially injection mold parts, which then allow us to make our end user products. So I'm going to show you here. This is a drawing of the microstructures in our material, which is a thermoplastic elastomer. If you watch this video, you can actually see the microstructures moving across skin. So it's a soft, comfortable feel, but has this unique ability to grip to skin. And we actually provide 250% improvement in the coefficient of friction to skin in wet and oily conditions. So you can actually see here, the red is with our microfibers in it, and the black is without. So you see about a 20% improvement in dry conditions, but in wet and oily, we're almost a 3-fold improvement. So what does that mean? So we essentially created this material, and we then decided to take it directly to the consumer. So we launched our own products early in 2020. We started out in the eyewear space. We now have 20 SKUs in eyewear. So these are nose pads that go on glasses, which actually is a pretty significant segment on Amazon. It's about $600,000 a month. So we make a ultra thin, a standard, a thick. We make different colors. We make a pediatric one. We then moved into AirPods and earbuds, wireless earbuds. So we have a whole line for all of the different Apple AirPod products. And more recently, we launched in gaming. So we make thumbstick grips. We made a low, medium, high rise. In total, we have 11 SKUs. We have products for all the main gaming platforms. And we're soon launching sports grips, as well as some other products that all use the same core technology, this unique ability to grip to skin, particularly in sweaty conditions. I'm going to play this video for you. Let's see here.
Natural evolution gave the gecko its amazingly strong grip. Our multi-patented Setex technology duplicates the microstructured fibers on a gecko's foot for a revolutionary new way to keep your glasses comfortably and securely in place. Like a gecko's foot, the thousands of anti-slip fibers on each Setex nose pad rest comfortably on the skin surface for a secure, relaxed, comfortable fit, even on wet or oily skin. Stay in control with the comfort, support, and zero slip adhesion of Setex nose pads, inspired by nature, perfected by science. Order yours today.
So we are on Amazon and a lot of other platforms, which I'm going to talk about in a second, but I just want to touch on the size of the market. So, we sell our products in the range of $11.99. We recently did a price increase without losing market share. So our base price is $11.99 up to $13.99. Globally, there's around 4 billion devices that can use our technology when you take into account iframes, earbuds, gaming consoles, and bikes, rackets, and bats. That's about 4 billion devices, which translates into a $40 billion total addressable market. As I said, we launched early in 2020. This is our growth track. Last quarter, we did over 1 million, which is the first time we'd gone over 1 million for the quarter. The last several months, we've done over 400,000 in revenue. The mix is about 80% US, 20% rest of world. And then we have also a mix between the different products I talked about. Things that are going to help us continue to grow, in addition to just continued brand awareness of our products. We recently have launched a test market evaluation in China. So we're accessing Tmall in China. It's 800 million consumers. And we are essentially bringing American technology to China. Most of our competitors in the US are actually cheap Chinese knockoffs. And we actually were told by our agency there that the conversion rate they saw for our product in this test market evaluation was the highest they've ever seen for a brand that's unknown. So they're super excited about the potential for our product in China. We have more new products that we're launching that are part of our plan going forward. And we're also in the B2B2C. So we have relationships with manufacturers where we're incorporating our technology into their eyewear. So we also, as I mentioned, have B2B2C projects ongoing. So we have a project with Bose Quiet Comfort 3 to incorporate our microstructures into their earbuds. We're working with JR286 on a new wet weather receiver glove. They make the receiver gloves for Nike. And we work with Pentland that owns the Speedo brand. We've had a project with them for a little over a year, incorporating our microstructures into the inside of their swim caps. So this is just an example of the potential of what we can do on the B2B2C side. We have a very deep IP portfolio, over 20 patents, over 20 trade secrets in our manufacturing processes. So we feel like we're well protected on a global basis with our IP portfolio. The team is interesting. We have like advanced material folks that are part of our team that were the founders and have been with the companies since the beginning. Metin City is the founder, who's a professor at Carnegie Mellon University. He's now actually the president of a university in Turkey, but he's still on our board. So we have a lot of technical expertise, but we also have a lot of sales and marketing expertise. So we have folks who run our products on the Amazon platform. We have folks who run our products in Amazon in Europe and Japan. And then we have a marketing team. We have Carlos Tribino, who did the Toomey rebranding, was at CBS, Viacom, really seasoned brand guy. And Dina Gazarian's on our board. She's was VP of sales at Monster. So we're kind of an interesting company that we're mixing the advanced materials with consumer expertise. So here's our financials. As I said, we think we're going to go over 4 million this year. We're looking at doing 7.7 next year, and you can see our growth track will be about a $24 million company in 4 years. And this is a moderately aggressive forecast. We have a strong track record in e-commerce, and we're now expanding beyond e-commerce to other channels. So it's not a pie in the sky forecast. And one thing I forgot to mention is specifically in the nose pad category, we have 45% market share in this space. We went from nothing to 45% share in 3 years. And that was all based on this unique technology story. So we're currently raising a $1 million equity round. The money will be spent primarily for operational and CapEx reasons, and this money is expected to take us to cash flow break even. The last thing I'll mention is some of the acquisitions in the space. So these are companies, for example, Marucci Sports is a sports company, bought Lizard Skins. So Lizard Skins makes baseball bat wraps in particular. And they acquired them for $50 million. We actually have, done extensive testing of our technology versus theirs, and we think our product is much better. So that's just an example. Another one is Steel Series acquired Control Freak. So our thumbstick grips go head to head with Control Freak. And again, we think we have a superior product. So just an idea of the types of acquisitions in the space. So I'm going to end there with this slide. These are just some product placement reviews where we've been mentioned. I guess give you a chance to ask me a few questions, Hall.
Great. Thanks, Nicholas. Juan, what's your first question?
All right. Thank you, Hall. So my first question is, have you guys been in any type of early conversations with potential acquirers, like maybe some of those guys that were on your slide?
Not yet. We have talked to aggregators. I don't know if you're familiar with those guys. There's a whole network of private equity companies that buy Amazon brands particularly. But we've decided not to go down that path because we see a lot more value associated with maintaining our own manufacturing. So we have not talked to any of those guys yet.
Okay.
We get to like 10 million probably before we start having those types of conversations.
Okay. All right. What's your cost of goods? I saw it there briefly, but I didn't get the.
Yeah, so we have outstanding margins.
46.
We make like a 5-pack nose pads for about $1.50, and we sell it between 11 and
That's fantastic.
$12.99.
And they're all made in the U.S.
Right here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Wow.
Is
Okay.
packaging a
That's
big part
great.
of that COGS?
Well, so we do our own packaging. No, I wouldn't say it's a huge part. I mean, there is an opportunity if we get to probably twice the volume we're at now, starting to automate our packaging. We still do the packaging manually, but there's an opportunity there for automation. You can see if you look out the breakout here, the biggest COGS component is materials.
Okay.
Looks like there's a question from the audience, Hall.
Yeah, the question is bike seat covers. Do you do anything with the triathlon industry?
Not right now, we don't. But that's definitely a potential space that we could work in. We've done stuff in automotive. And one of our investors actually was a company that is in the automotive space, but haven't done anything with triathlon.
Would
Talk
it
about
run
your-
a triathlon application? You're sitting with shorts on a seat, or is it on a handlebar? I guess it could be on a handlebar, but you usually have gloves on in that application too, in a triathlon, when you're riding a bike.
Yeah, I mean, so we grip to skin. We also grip to leather really well. So that's what, the receiver glove application is gripping to leather. And obviously if you're wearing like golf gloves and you're gripping a golf club, that's another application that's open for our technology. I mean, once you start thinking of everything that you do that you grip with your hands, it's a huge amount of applications.
This 5-year revenue forecast with the bar charts, that the B2B 2C, that's where a manufacturer is using it in their product. Is that?
Yeah,
that's I'm
that's-
just
that's this
Yes.
type of application.
okay. I was expecting that number, that portion of your channel sales to explode, and it's just a sliver.
As
and
I
just-
said, it's a conservative, somewhat conservative forecast. So I think it's going to grow pretty dramatically. I mean, the logistics of it are a little more complicated because most of this stuff's made in China. We line the inside of a mold with our, the negative essentially creates the microstructures. So what it involves in these types of deals is working with their molding companies in China to incorporate our material. We essentially maintain control of that intellectual property and replace it. And we can do about 10,000 shots. So it's just it takes a little while to develop that, but it's a licensing model. We'll, for example, for these deals that are on this slide, we'll get revenue on a per unit basis.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of Caterpillar being involved, or Boeing being involved, or Nike, just boggles my mind. I just can. It's such an interesting application. I can't believe that most of the sales early on are on this Velcro kind of add-on 3M-ish kind of thing, right?
Great. All right. We're at the end of our time now. Thanks so much, Nicholas. With that, we'll move on to our next presenter. Up next is Lucas Karamary of Tenzr Health. Lucas, if you can join us up here, love to see your presentation as well.
Okay, excellent. All right, everyone. Good afternoon. My name's Lucas, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Tenzr Health. Funny enough, because Juan is here and Kirk, we are a Keiretsu Forum, a Keiretsu Capital portfolio company too. And just to add to that, we're also backed by Mayo Clinic, and we're an AI digital health company improving outcomes in physical medicine by gamifying rehab. So musculoskeletal care in North America is broken. While 1 in 2 Americans suffer from musculoskeletal injuries, there's a massive shortage of rehab professionals to treat patients, leading to long wait times. And clinical outcomes are poor due to low patient compliance with rehab caused by lack of clarity and motivation in the rehab process. I was a perfect example of this. When I was 23 years old, I hurt my lower back quite badly, resulting in 2 herniated discs, and had to hobble around in pain for almost 4 years. No one could give me a clear, measurable, actionable path to recovery or assure me that I would recover. So my co-founder and I joined forces to completely overhaul the musculoskeletal care paradigm. And together we've built a management team who are experts in quantified health, gaming, wearable technologies, go-to-market in physical medicine, and scaling and exiting health tech startups. I'm a serial entrepreneur with experience in healthcare and consumer wellness packaged goods. My co-founder Gautam led and scaled product development at a Class 3 medical device startup, Keiresu Medical, through their pre-seed, seed, and Series A, and IDE approval through FDA's Breakthrough Devices program. Our Chief Commercialization Officer, Gabriel Rodrigo, has over 25 years of go-to-market expertise, taking physical medicine products like Tenzr from launch to 100 million in annual revenue at companies like PowerBar, Game Ready, and AlterG. And then we have Torsten Kanish, who's our lead angel investor and board member, who's an executive officer at AstraZeneca Japan and leads the commercial operations, digital health, and innovation teams. We also have a fantastic commercial advisory board composed of investor advisors with expertise in health policy, remote monitoring, payers, and retail health. So our big insight is turning the recovery journey into a clearly defined, engaging, multi-level game, providing patients with the motivation and certainty to complete therapy effectively. Why gamification? In a game, the client has a clear map to accomplish their goals, knows exactly where they are in their journey and what to do next, is immediately engaged. The present challenge is suited for their skill level, and they see the instant reward of the work put in. Gamification also helps provide a sense of community and fun competition, in effect counteracting the loneliness people can feel when dealing with these issues. In other words, a game experience is the opposite experience of physical therapy today. Now I have a video rendering, hopefully it renders well over Zoom. And what you see here is our patented medical sensors that are used to engage patients by measuring recovery status, also turning the exercises themselves into games, and dynamically creating and communicating the shortest AI-driven recovery pathway for each patient. And this gives therapists objective data on recovery status, allowing them to adjust treatment and flag patients requiring further intervention. And by doing so, clinics can generate additional reimbursement revenue. So it's pretty much a triple win across the board for the patient, the provider, and the payer. From a market perspective, over 150 million people in the US suffer from MSK injuries. So it's a huge market. But within that is a rapidly expanding new market that has opened up. As of last year, Medicare and private insurers are reimbursing providers for providing remote therapy monitoring using solutions like Tenzr. And within that, we have a beachhead focus on the highly consolidated hand therapy market for RTM. So think of conditions like carpal tunnel syndrome, wrist fractures and sprains, tennis elbow, golfer's elbow, and spasticity due to a stroke or spinal cord injury. And we have a B2B SaaS business model. Every clinic added generates $14,000 of revenue per month with 86% gross margin. And the reason that clinics adopt us is because, one, they can generate up to 20% of additional revenue per episode of care or per patient. And secondly, we reduce their wait times and improve outcomes for them. So overall, they become more competitive in the market. And when it comes to customer acquisition, it's scalable because once we're in, we're in. It's really hard to disrupt products that have been adopted by clinics and integrate it into their workflow. And secondly, there's a lot of room to increase that contract value. The 14K is purely based on their hand therapy population and will grow substantially as we add tracking capabilities for the ankle, knee, shoulder, back, and hip. And thirdly, yes, there's a hardware component, and that, and that hardware is reused. So the patient is on the platform for 2 months on average, and then gets reused by the subsequent patient. And as a result of reusing that hardware, we get an 86% gross margin kind of business. So from a traction perspective, we have successfully transitioned from pilot to signed commercial contracts with multiple accounts generating revenue. We have a fully developed and operational FDA-listed medical device. We have seamlessly integrated into the clinical workflow of over a dozen orthopedic practices. We've proven that Tenzr patients are 3 times more compliant with rehab compared to industry standard. We've proven the ROI for clinics by demonstrating an increase up to 20% of additional revenue per patient. And we've done all this with a proprietary tech stack that is defensible and protected by US patent. And we have massive growth potential. We actually have active pilots transitioning to paid contracts at large hospital systems, including Mayo Clinic, UCSF, and Cedars-Sinai. But to keep up with this momentum and be at so many clinics and at the top institutions in the country, we're raising a quick $750K right now. 80% is already spoken for. by existing investors, new investors, and owners of PT clinics. The terms were set by Keiretsu Capital. And it's a convertible note with a very attractive value cap of $7.5 million, 20% discount, 5% interest. And the use of proceeds is really to increase sales volume and scale our operations. So with that, I invite you all to join our journey to level up the recovery experience for us and future generations. Thank you.
Thanks, Lucas. Juan, what's your first question?
All right, Lucas, this is excellent.
Yes,
Looking really good out there.
Yeah, we launched in April at Expo in the Pacific Northwest, and now filled up the round. Yeah, pretty much.
That's phenomenal. Okay, so now that you guys are live, you guys are starting to get sales, starting to get orders. Okay, can you tell me what the next 6 months is going to look like for you guys in terms of revenue?
Yes, love it. So let me see. I'm noodling with this slide right here. So right now we had the breakthrough of the summer. We signed our first contract in August, signed our second contract in September, gonna sign another one this month. The goal is to end three more contracts by year end, 5 contracts, ramp up patient usage to 3K MRR. And in the interim, we're also we're getting paid pilots at large hospital systems. So, and then by June 24, we're looking at about 20 clinics fully activated doing 20K MRR, and ending the year with about 45 clinics at 60K MRR. So that's what our growth looks like for the next year or so. And we already have 48. We already have 6 clinics as opportunities in our pipeline. We're anticipating all of them to convert sooner or later here. And we have another 48 highly qualified ICPs identified and already targeting them. So full motion, we're off to the races practically.
Is there some product sales on top of the recurring revenue model, or is it purely?
Yeah. So for large hospital systems, we actually just we finally succeeded. We're getting an implementation fee of about $10,000 upfront to implement the Tenzr RTM. That allows us to recognize revenue upfront, not have free pilots anymore, which is awesome. And from there, go to our short-term contracts. So usually our sales motion, we start with 6-month contract, really allows us to understand their payer mix, all the conditions that are being treated across 6 months. And then we're going to go to a long-term contract, 2 to 3 years with those organizations. And so that's our current sales motion to a greater extent.
Got it.
Yeah.
How sturdy is this equipment? How many people can use it, or how long can it be used?
So it's right here. Bringing it up to the video. These are the Tenzr kits, wearables. Lifetime of these are 3 years. You can throw them on the ground, you can bang them on the wall. They were really made for clinical setting and also made specifically for stroke survivors in mind, who have a lot of less mobility and can bang the wearable onto a lot of things during the day. So we're anticipating at least 3 years on those devices, and the COGS on that at scale is $60. So we break even like in month 1.5 of the kit being used. We break even on that, and then it's gross margin for the rest of the time. So it's actually a really good business at scale.
And this is actually, in the therapist's office.
Correct.
And people come and visit, and then they do the exercises in the office.
No, they take it home. They take it home. Yeah. So pretty much right now, like let's say phase 1 of our go-to-market is through clinics. So you get introduced, you say you've been to PT, you get your first session, you evaluate it. Instead of being sent home with a piece of paper and exercises on it, or some kind of app with video exercising on it, instead you're sent home with a Tenzr kit, and you use that solution in between rehab sessions. That data is sent back to the therapist in real time and being monitored. That's how the clinic actually makes money. And the therapist can intervene in real time depending on how you're progressing. And you also get the chance to review that data with your clinician when you're back in the clinic. And then once you're fully discharged, for once, right now, no one gets discharged objectively in this industry. You just stop going if you're out of pain, which is the worst thing to do. But now we can actually measure your recovery status, measure your mobility, measure your strength and your endurance. You get discharged objectively. The kid returns to the clinic, gets sent out with the next patient. And this is already in motion. Like, this is already being deployed. And we just closed a clinic, Juan, in Denver, in Golden, Colorado, with a POPT out there. So we're expanding, and we have pretty exciting about that.
Can you talk about your moat, your defensible position?
Yes, happy to. So there's really, and I'm happy to share the competitive landscape as well. But our competitive mode is there's 4 tiers. So one, we have figured out how to seamlessly integrate into existing workflows of clinics, and that's easier said than done. And a lot of our clinics that we worked with have tried our competitors, have dropped them, have used us because we really understand how these clinics operate. So that's one. 2, we figured out how to automate the RTM billing on the back end. So the clinic doesn't have to, pretty much once the patient is ready to be billed by these RTM codes, we provide all the necessary documentation in the appropriate, what's the term here? It's called SOAP notes, to be specific. And we just provide that. So we made it seamless for them to bill the codes as well. Third is our gamification engine to engage the patient. None of our competitors do that, where you take prescribed exercises and then translate them into fun, engaging video games. And you would have seen in the video here, we actually don't, we are inspired by classic games. We don't invent games. So we look by like Atari, Big Breaker, Pong, Defenders, Invaders. And so everyone knows how to play those games. So we've reduced the friction there. And then the fourth thing, our fourth layer of the mode is actually our patented clinical grade sensors, which allow us to measure vital signs in MSK and is already protected by US patent. So that's kind of, and then long term, we're actually collecting data, right, on this. We will know for the first time what does an optimal recovery journey look like for a wrist fracture or for total knee replacement, week over week. How many days of exercise you should be doing, how many reps of exercise you should be doing, how much mobility you should be improving day over day. And we're finally collecting that data, and that's with our sensors, and that becomes our proprietary data set, which then allows us to have our AI play and ensure that a patient's on track. That data can be monetized with payers for like a risk and profit sharing setup. So very excited about that. So that's how the moat increases over time.
That's interesting. Thank you.
Lucas, so what's the timeline to the next
Right.
wearable? For example, shoulder
yes.
or knee
Yes.
or ankle.
Yeah, happy to
What's
share.
the deal there? And you need to go through a regulatory process.
Yes,
to get that to happen.
Great question. So voila. So we launched late last year when we got our FDA registration. We've now proven our gamification. We've started to monetize rehab clinics. We're releasing our shoulder, ankle, knee tracking next year, in 2024, pretty much in a quarter and a bit, and then market expansion, hip and back in 2025. So that's kind of from a product perspective. From a go-to-market perspective, we start with rehab clinics. We're in active pilots with provider networks like Mayo Clinic, UCSF, and Cedars. Those will be monetized next year. And then with that data I was just sharing, that will be used for risk and profit sharing with payers, where I want to go to Blue Cross Blue Shield, Anthem, Medicare, all those folks, and guarantee outcomes. If a clinic uses us, we can guarantee outcomes and get paid more for that. And then leverage that over time to really become a digital therapeutic that's available over the counter. That's the dream, right? Is go from one-to-one care paradigm to one-to-many care paradigm. Hopefully that answered your question, Juan.
Great. Thanks, Lucas. We're out of time. Appreciate the great presentation. And thank you guys for great questions as well. With that, we'll move to our final presenter today. We have coming up next, Cogwheel Property Development. This is Andrew Burke and Jim Bent.
Very good. As I was saying, I'm Andrew Burke. I'm a third-generation real estate developer. My family built 100-plus unit residential towers in Nova Scotia. We built the largest industrial park in the region and numerous civic projects. I'm also a former technical analyst and an equities trader. As a serial entrepreneur, I founded an art school in Boston in 2005, which was acquired by a national group in 2019. That school continues to thrive to this day. And I'm also proud to be an active member of Mensa.
And I'm Jim Bent, also co-owner and co-director of Cogwheel Property Development. My background includes holding a general contractor's license in Massachusetts, which gave me a lot of hands-on experience on construction sites. I also founded and managed a series of medical and recreational dispensaries. Our most recent venture sold early last year for $29 million, plus $1 million for the real estate. As a partner and the operations manager, I oversaw a workforce of 90 employees. I also became very good at operating in a highly regulated industry. I created more efficient operational processes, prioritizing safety for both the company and its investors, which positioned us as leaders in the field. Our successful operation attracted a lot of attention and gave me opportunities to act as a consultant nationwide.
So Cogwheel Property Development specializes in small-scale residential real estate development. Our focus is on urban infill and new construction. So our unique infill strategy involves going into established neighborhoods and converting yards into buildable parcels. Then we build attached housing on those new parcels. All of our ongoing projects are located in Spokane, Washington, a city known for having one of the most stable and steadily growing residential real estate markets in the nation. The demand for new construction in Spokane is particularly high. Any given month, new builds account for just 2 to 10% of listings. We've been tracking and analyzing data for many months. Most currently, homes are going pending within a mere week or two after being listed.
Cogwheel Property Development holds an advantage in the local market for a few reasons. Our approach revolves around creating and subdividing parcels and then construction attached single-family homes. All of this is enabled by the city's pilot initiative, Building Opportunities and Choices for All, or BOCA, which Spokane created in response to their self-defined emergency housing shortage. While the BOCA program is set to conclude in December, our early adoption has solidified our leading position in the city. In fact, Cogwheel was the first entity to submit a BOCA application back in August of 2022. As a result, all 11 of our homes are grandfathered into this program. Currently, 5 of these homes are under construction and are scheduled to be released to the market in January. We've also acquired and developed additional parcels of land and will start construction on 6 more homes in the upcoming months, contingent upon ongoing fundraising efforts. Our commitment to innovation and strategic timing positions us as leaders in the Spokane market.
Cogwheel is collaborating on our Spokane project with a team of talented individuals, at the forefront of whom is our builder, Randy Palazzo, owner of Urban Empire Homes. Randy's a real estate developer and a licensed general contractor with over 3 decades of experience. He's completed about 2,000 projects across the Pacific Northwest and is known for working closely with architects and engineers to bring his original home designs to life. Because of his extensive expertise, Randy serves on an advisory board to the city's planning department. He works directly with Spencer Gardner, the head of city planning, and Randy plays a key role in shaping the modifications to the building code resulting from the BOCA initiative.
Another valuable member of our team is Eric Dordal of Windermere Real Estate Group. Eric consistently ranks among the top 5% producing real estate professionals in Spokane. Eric's been in the local market for almost 18 years. He's much more than our realtor. Eric's ability to analyze investment opportunities and provide accurate valuations makes him an essential member of our team.
Cogwheel Property Development is in the final stages of welcoming new investors. We've already raised $5 million from private and corporate capital partners. Now we're seeking the final $450,000 in investments with a minimum commitment of $25,000. Every investor receives a promissory note for a short 12-month term at a 16.08% APY, secured by the total holdings of Cogwheel, valued at $6.9 million upon completion. The notes are further secured by both Jim and my personal guarantees. For investors contributing a minimum of $225,000, there's an additional layer of security in the form of deeds of trust for 3 attached single-family homes. So Cogwheel is already about 92% funded, and we are in the final weeks of fundraising. For new investors interested in joining us, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Thanks for your attention. You can find our full-length version of our investor presentation by scrolling down our homepage of cogwheelpropertydevelopment.com. If there's any aspect of our project you'd like to explore further, we are now open for questions.
Great. Thanks, guys. Juan, what's your first question?
Okay, my first is regarding sustainability. What are you guys doing, within your construction to make this sustainable and green and save energy, etc.? What's your strategy there?
Jim, do
Well,
you
what
want to?
we've done recently with some of the properties that we've bought, and instead of everything just going to the landfill, because as we split off these lots, the large side yards, there might be a metal building that needs to come down. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and pre-sell these things. We'll try to sell the windows, historic bricks, anything that we can do so it doesn't go to the landfill.
Yes. And so, just to interject, in addition to the reclaimed materials, we also do our best to minimize the removal of flora and fauna. Urban infill in general is a fairly eco-sensitive way of building because we're converting what was a grassy yard. We're not clear cutting forests to build homes.
How many homes have you guys sold already?
Sorry, Jim.
We haven't sold. We've sold one project, but the 11 homes that we're building right now, we have not sold. We were going to stage them, landscape them, and get the most return that we possibly can. I mean, you can sell them in sheetrock, but at a far less price than what we're hoping to get.
Okay, so what you guys were telling us is that in Spokane, houses are being bought within 2 weeks, even under the economic, conditions right now.
Oh, most definitely.
Like increasing interest, all that stuff. They're still selling.
Oh yeah. I mean, just a couple months ago, days pending from list to pending was 6 days. I think today we're up to 14 days. And again, that's the whole market. We don't have separate data for new construction, but it's a very small, portion of the listings at any given time. So there's a keen interest for new construction specifically. There is a housing shortage in Spokane, which is why they've initiated this pilot program. Just the other day, we got a call from someone driving by the construction site, inquiring about what we were building. Is it for sale? But as Jim was just mentioning, we are not opting to pre-sell anything. We want to complete everything and maximize our return.
Mm-hmm. There must be a number of developers, jumping on the opportunity of selling their houses in 14 days. What makes your houses better? Or is it just not even an issue? They'll buy whatever's out there.
Well, there's not a lot of new construction at all. So as Jim was saying, we're literally the first developers to put in an application under BOCA. So as such, we've also, we're leading in being the first developers to build these attached units. So our 11 homes are grouped in 2s and 3s. And there's nothing quite like it on the market. So we've taken the model from what the group was doing in Seattle and Portland, and now we're leading the market in Spokane.
And the type of housing that we're building, Juan, really resonates in the area and the neighborhood. It doesn't stick out like a sore thumb. It's a modern look, as well as just having those R values that the older houses don't have in Spokane.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is an investment for a note.
I'm sorry?
This is an investment in a convertible note or just
No, it's just straight debt, no equity, no convertible note.
Okay. So there's no consideration of what the exit is. There's no expectation for a sale of the company or anything in the scheme.
No, not
Straight up real estate.
Yep, got it.
Right. Just
Straight up real estate, straight up return.
and small scale at that. We're very small scale developers. Like I say, we're only building 11 homes.
Right.
This round, yes.
Yeah, this round.
Mhm.
But we
Yeah, it's
continue to
interesting.
scale this up as we go along. We look at it, there's a possibly 4 to 5 year window. Right now, you don't have everyone slow rolling to jump in this.
Yeah.
So that's why we want to get in there, buy lots, after this first round, and just keep scaling this up. And until we've come to that time where, we're done in Spokane, moving on to another city.
And Jim, I assume what's behind you, what we see behind you is
That's a conceptual of
Yeah. Okay.
of the type of quality that we're building. We do have, the elevations, which my presentation's not working at the moment. I was going to go to those elevations. But yes, that's just a conceptual, just to show the quality and a look that we're achieving or will achieve in Spokane.
When will the other 10 houses be ready?
Well, 5 are currently under construction right now.
Oh,
They should be hitting the market in January, maybe February. And that's a great time for the market anyways, just because from, October to mid-January, it's a little bit slower in Spokane because it's the winter. A lot of people don't want to move. But as you get into February, so to answer your question, sir, the other 6 will be ready for sale right around June, July.
got it. Okay.
Mhm.
How leveraged are you guys? Are you taking on debt, bank debt and other type of loans?
Yes, we are. So of the 6.9 million in completed value, I would say about 4.5-ish of that is debt. So there's a really nice margin in it, both for us, but also for our investors. So all the investors that have come in at a large enough scale to collateralize against the deeds of trust, that's all been figured at an approximate 2-to-1 ratio. So $2 of equity for every $1 of capital. And that's approximate. So and that, again, that's subordinate to the construction lenders. So we take all that out prior to collateralizing the deeds.
And Andrew and I do not get paid. We don't have a management fee or anything. We actually get paid at the end. Once all investors are paid back, then the rest is ours.
Yeah, we get paid last.
Great. Well, I think we're at the end of our questions, guys. Thanks so much for a great presentation.